You've probably heard the phrase, seeing is believing, right? Especially when we're talking about data. We look at a chart and we just trust it to tell us the truth. But what if the numbers themselves are hiding the real story? Today, we're going to dive into the world of data visualization. And we're starting with a classic puzzle that, I promise you, will completely change how you look at a spreadsheet.
Okay, let's jump right in. On your screen, you're looking at 4 different sets of data. Now, your first instinct is probably to try and spot some patterns, maybe guess the relationship between the X and Y values. So go on, take a good look. How different do you think they really are?
Well, here's the kicker. If you just run the numbers, look at their core statistical properties, these 4 datasets are practically identical. The average value is the same, the regression line, the correlation, it's all the same. So on paper, they're telling the exact same story. But, and this is a big but, they're not.
The second you actually plot them, bam, 4 totally different stories just leap off the page. The first one is a nice simple line. The second one, clearly a curve. The third is a perfect line, but it's being totally skewed by one single outlier. And the fourth is, well, it's just bizarre, with all the points sitting on one line except for one that's way out there. This is Anscombe's quartet, and it's the ultimate proof that you cannot trust summary statistics alone. You have to see the data.
So, if visualizing is this powerful, that means it can also be powerfully misleading, right? To figure out how to do it right, we've got to turn to the guy who literally wrote the book on this stuff. Meet Edward Tufte. He's a statistician and an artist, and he's basically the pioneer of everything we think about when it comes to good, clear design. He is all about clarity and precision, and he famously called this map by Charles Joseph Menard, which shows the devastating losses of Napoleon's army in Russia, probably the best statistical graphic ever drawn. And you can see why, right? It tells this incredibly complex, heartbreaking story with just stunning clarity.
So Tufte's whole philosophy is actually pretty simple. Show the data, and do it honestly. That's it. A really good graphic should make you think about what the data is saying, not about how flashy the design is. It's got to avoid distortion, pack a lot of info into a small space, and more than anything, it has to have a clear purpose. I mean, he was so serious about this honesty thing that he actually created a formula for it, the lie factor. It's a really simple idea. If the size of the change you see in the picture is way bigger than the size of the change in the actual data, then the chart is lying. Think of it like a visual exaggeration meter. And for Tufte, anything over 1.05 is a problem.
And this chart? Oh man, this is a textbook example of a huge lie factor. It's supposed to show fuel economy standards, so the data goes up by 53%, but the picture, the road stretching into the distance, that's a whopping 783% increase. That little perspective trick creates a lie factor of almost 15. It turns a pretty modest improvement into this gigantic world-changing leap.
Tufte also had this great term for all the junk that gets in the way of the data. He called it chart junk. You know what I'm talking about. Those unnecessary 3D effects, crazy colors, little decorative pictures that don't add anything. His advice? If it doesn't help someone understand the data, it's just noise. When in doubt, take it out.
Okay, so Tufte laid down these amazing rules. But how do they hold up today? I mean, we're facing challenges he probably couldn't have even imagined, like massive amounts of data and brand new technologies.
Look, today we are just drowning in data. It's everywhere. So visualization isn't some nice little extra you add to a report anymore. It's an absolutely essential tool. Think about it. Visualization is the fastest way to get huge amounts of information into our brains. Without it, we'd just be completely lost.
And as more and more people look at this data, a new rule becomes absolutely critical: accessibility. Good design has to be inclusive design. That means you can't just rely on color to tell the story. You got to use shapes, patterns, clear labels. You need high contrast text and simple charts. And of course, descriptive text for screen readers so that everyone can understand the story the data is telling.
But what if our tools could do more than just, show us a picture? What if they could actually help us understand it? Well, that's where the next big thing comes in: artificial intelligence. AI is basically turning our dashboards from static images into smart partners that we can actually talk to.
One of the coolest tools that come out of this is something called natural language querying. It means that instead of writing a bunch of complicated code, you can literally just ask your data a question in plain English. Like, hey, why did sales tank last quarter? And boom, you get an answer. It's putting the power of analysis into everybody's hands.
And get this, AI can also be like having a super smart analyst watching your data 24/7.
These anomaly detection systems are always scanning for weird patterns that a person might miss. And they don't just flag a problem, they tell you why it might have happened. It's like it tells you what you need to know before you've even realized you should be asking the question. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, but with all this incredible power comes a pretty big catch. A lot of these advanced AI models are what we call black boxes. They can spit out an amazing answer, but they can't always tell you how they got there. And if we don't understand the why behind an AI's conclusion, how can we really truly trust it?
And that brings us to really the most important point here. The future of data visualization isn't just about building smarter tools. It's about building tools we can actually trust. The next giant leap forward is all about making that AI intelligence transparent.
And this need for trust has created this whole new field called explainable AI, or XAI for short. The entire mission of XAI? To crack open that black box, to build models that don't just give us answers, but can actually justify their decisions in a way that we humans can understand and verify.
And listen, this isn't some far-off sci-fi idea. It's happening right now. Take a fraud detection system for digital payments. It uses a machine learning model to flag sketchy transactions. But it doesn't just give a thumbs up or thumbs down. It uses a tool called SHAP to basically put a spotlight on the exact reasons why it thinks a transaction looks fishy. That's building trust through transparency.
You know, as we dive into this new world, it's probably good to remember one last piece of advice from the master himself, Tufte. He reminds us that all these principles, they're not unbreakable laws. The real goal is always clear, effective, and, well, graceful communication. Sometimes the most truthful chart is also the most elegant one. The tools change, but the purpose stays the same.
And that really leaves us with a huge question for this new age of AI. As we start handing over more and more of the creative process to algorithms, who's the storyteller now? Who is ultimately responsible for making sure that our data stories are not just true, but that they're also told with the kind of grace and integrity that they deserve?